Hello, everyone. This is Pamela Topchian. Welcome to Holistic Connections, conversations with holistic practitioners. And I will let my guest introduce herself and explain what you do in the holistic healing world.
Great. I am Ramona Crabtree-Falkner. I am a transformational empowerment coach. I also lead destination women's retreats, and I work with corporations bringing mindfulness and meditation workshops into their teams.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I don't hear about a lot is people
Mm,
bringing mindfulness into corporations.
yeah.
So, yeah. So, do you think you could talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
We'll go
Yeah.
we'll go there first. I
Yeah,
know there's a
well,
few places to.
yeah. Yeah, so where that was born from was so I've been a 20-year holistic wellness facilitator. Started out as a massage therapist, moved
Yeah.
into energy work, yoga teaching. I eventually was leading trainings and, all those things with a brick and mortar.
Hmm.
And my body was unhappy.
Yeah.
So
I
it
get
was a
it.
lot.
I
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah. And so I started pivoting back in 2016 because I was at a point where my body was so angry with me that doctors were like, "You're gonna have to have surgery." That everything that we were doing wasn't working, and every part of me knew that it was energetic,
Yeah.
right? So I started shifting and never ended up having the surgery they were telling me I should have
Oh.
because I did the soul work. I got authentic with myself and realized my energy was being drained from me.
Yeah.
And I love to be of service. I love to
Hmm.
help people, but it was causing me so much harm. So when I really stood back over the last 9 years, as I've been making all these transformative steps towards where I am today, the big thing was coaching. Like I definitely knew that that was going to be a huge part of my mission that I could continue on. And then I love retreats because they're so powerful. They really take you out of your chaos and give you a sacred container to get real with yourself.
Yeah. A lot of
And
times when
yeah.
people work with a coach or any kind of healing modality, it's like for the session and then you got to go back to regular life. So to have a
Yeah.
retreat, it's like you can be immersed in it
Yeah.
for a period of time and then come back
Yeah.
and reflect and
Yeah.
implement all you've learned and how you've changed into your life. So I
Yeah.
love retreats. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to be in a container with people that are all doing the same work.
Hmm.
Like they have their own stories, they have their own experiences, but they're there to be held in a sacred space,
Hmm.
to be seen, to be heard, to be honored without judgment, to just know that we're all there being human and working
Yeah.
through the things, right? So 2.5 years ago, I took a solo retreat
Hmm.
and went to Greece. And
Oh,
that
nice.
was, yeah, that was like this transformative moment for me. I had just become an empty nester.
Mm.
Things were changing dramatically with just our life in general. And so I was like, I need a beat. And
Yeah.
so I took one. And I'm always inspired when I fly, being an air sign that I think that being in the air makes it just like, okay, yay, we can get a hold of you, you know?
Oh my goodness. I hate flying, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
cannot
yeah,
relate with that one, but
yeah, yeah.
but that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But so I ended up having clarity on that flight home, and so everything I've done for the past 2.5 years has been building towards that clarity I had on that flight home, and it was
Mm.
to dive more deeply into the coaching, to dive more deeply into the retreat leg, and then this idea around corporate mindfulness was just planted in my awareness.
Ah,
And so I started doing the research and it's a thing. There's lots of
yeah.
companies out there that go in and support and so then I joined a company and worked for them and had this really amazing experience where I showed up to a business that was there was no female uh,
Mm.
employees. It was all men. And so I mostly work with women. So it was a
Yeah.
different dynamic, and they were excited to experience what I had, and it was
Oh,
all
nice.
foreign to them.
Yeah.
And so the outcome was there was two groups I was leading, and the people that were in the first group were like, "Oh, we're coming back for the second one."
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, so this is it." Like this was the aha moment that just kind of clicked everything together, the importance of finding access to be able to be brought into those teams and just
Yeah.
even if it's just a wellness day, sharing a meditation,
Yeah.
sharing a talk on mindfulness, on intention setting,
Yeah.
on, you know, casting away perfectionism and imposter syndrome and all of those things that get us stuck, right?
Yeah.
And so as far as that goes, that is just for me a piece of the equation. My central midline is the Empowered Authenticity Coaching Program, and
Mm.
that is specifically with high achieving professional women that are burnt out, overwhelmed, feeling stuck,
Yeah.
and just needing to see things from a different angle.
So that sounds like that's in line with the corporate coaching, but more on a one-on-one level for
Yes.
women that are in the business world and feeling burnt out or
Hmm.
overwhelmed or
Yeah.
maybe even stuck. But then the corporate stuff is done in their business with a
Hmm.
group, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And then
And
that becomes an opportunity too. Like if there's someone there that's like, I want more of you, then
yeah.
that brings them over to the other things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I really dialed down into who I wanted to be working with, I was looking at who was knocking at my door,
Right. Yeah.
right? And it was the professional women. And
Yeah.
they were coming in going, ah, 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 ah,
Yeah.
or coming in and there was a lot of with the chakra system, which is what I work with,
Mm-hmm.
the root chakra, we have two archetypes there, and it's the victim and the mother, and the
Mm-hmm.
victim is so dominant in a lot of these experiences. They come in and, oh, such and such happened, and I like no power, no control, and they're just
Yeah.
constantly feeling like they're being taken, instead of realizing that if they align their energies to their authentic truths and
Mm-hmm.
they start saying yes to things that are really a yes and no to things that are really a no, then they are going to be living in more alignment. And sometimes that is it changes the environment that they're in and they can stay right where they're at. Other times they are like, okay, peace out. I've done everything I'm
Right.
supposed to do here and I'm moving on. They've come in with, illnesses. They've come in, like burnout is for real. Like
Yeah.
it
Oh,
takes
absolutely.
a toll on us physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. I have been through that. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know. I am
Mm-hmm.
a former nurse and I made the tough decision to quit and also hypnotherapy the last 5 years and kind of deciding this year if I want to continue that or not.
Yeah.
So I understand
Yeah, yeah. And
completely.
as a massage therapist, I burnt out. As a
Right.
business owner, I burnt out because that's the misnomer here. A lot
Yeah.
of times when clients would come to me, they're like, "Oh, you have it all worked out." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't. I'm
We're
still on the
human.
journey. I'm still having my own dharma, my own experience in this 3D
Right.
plane to be the best version of myself and my authentic self. And
Hmm.
that's ultimately why my company name transitioned in 2006 to Authentic Life Journey.
Yeah, Authentic Life Journey. And that's the name of your website,
Mm-hmm.
AuthenticLifeJourney.com. And that's
Mm-hmm.
also you on Instagram,
Yeah.
Authentic Life Journey.
Yeah. I
So
think it's also Facebook. So
is it
any of
okay?
those places. Yeah.
And we will put those links below wherever anybody's watching or listening. So on your website, I noticed a quote or something that you said on your website that said, whether through personalized coaching, transformative retreats, or corporate mindfulness programs, my mission is to create spaces where you can pause, breathe, and return to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I mean, that's almost like a little
Yeah.
affirmation, quick little meditation. I mean, it just makes
Mm-hmm.
you feel better. Just
Yeah.
just reading that made me feel good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so can you talk a little bit about, saying return to yourself. What does that mean for the clients?
Yeah, so that means shedding.
Yeah.
It means so in yoga, so that's where my background comes from, and a lot of what I teach comes from the yogic philosophies. One of the things that we are doing when we come to yoga is we're beginning to become aware of the illusions.
Mm.
In yoga, we call that the Maya, the illusions. And so we have these veils of illusion that are covering our eyes and we're not seeing the truth. So what we want to do is we want to lift those veils and start seeing the truth. And so I can speak from my own experience
Hmm.
because it's your mess is your message, right? So whatever it is that you've experienced, that's why you
Yeah.
feel charged to share this information forward. So I was the product of teenage pregnancy. I was the oldest
Same.
of four. I could go into all the things that I don't think are necessary for my story anymore because they were part of what brought me to awakening.
Yeah.
But when you're saddled with teenage parents, you're gonna have some things, right? And that's just part of the dharma, part of the choice of coming into my life under those circumstances. But what I'll say is that when I when I finally started acknowledging that I wasn't happy,
Hmm.
I wasn't enjoying my life, I wasn't
Yeah.
doing anything that meant anything. It was just, okay, I do this thing, I do that thing. I get up
And
in
is
the
this while you
morning.
were a massage therapist as well? Is this while
Actually,
at
this
that
was
time or
before
before?
then.
Before
Yeah,
then.
so
Okay.
this was
Yeah.
before then. And I had some pretty intense things that happened that really offered me the opportunity to go down either the path of remaining a victim and living in a victim mentality for
Yeah.
the remainder of my life, or to step into my empowerment and
Yeah.
get to know myself. And so that's, to me, what the journey that I'm carrying anyone on is about, is
Yeah.
coming home to your authentic truths by lifting those veils, becoming the witness to them, becoming honest with yourself, being willing to do the uncomfortable work of self-exploration and introspection.
Mm.
Because so much of what, for me, so much of what I had created my life to be before I shifted was based on programming that I was taught. This is what makes you happy. This is what makes you successful. This is what
Hmm.
makes you, these are the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I will tell you, I knew as a small child what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and I did not do it that way
Yeah.
in the beginning because I was trained to do it this way.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And there's no regret in that because I believe that we follow those things until we are ready.
Yeah, I talk about this when anybody has like any kind of a block, a creative block, writer's block, an artist or any kind of creative block. And I really think that it's not charging through the block or getting over it.
Mm-mm.
Reflect on what do you need in this time,
Mm-hmm.
that why is
Yes.
there this pause? There's a pause for a reason. So yeah, it's not necessarily something to barge through and get over. It's more of reflect on why am I
Right.
having this pause,
Right.
rather than
Well,
a
and it's
block.
yeah, and it's the forcing through that then leads you to burnout, that then leads you to overwhelm, that then leads you to
Yeah.
whatever it is that's not working. And so it's so important to take sacred pause,
Yes.
right? To really allow yourself to say, okay, I'm not doing anything. And so what I hear, and I've been hearing this a lot lately, what I hear is that's lazy. It doesn't,
Right.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not
Oh my
getting anything
goodness.
done. I'm lazy. And I'm like, oh, let's go there. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because when
Where
we
did that come
really,
from? Somewhere.
exactly, yeah, when we really look at ourselves, we're duality. We're masculine
Mm-hmm.
and feminine. We're not one or the other. And
Right.
so the pause, the taking time to rest, the not doing anything
Yeah.
is equally as important as the
Right.
action that you are taking. Because in the
Right.
pause is when we can actually gain clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
You
it's actually
can't.
our feminine side, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, more women are more likely, I mean, these women retreats, women
Mhm.
are more likely to give the time to that, give
Yes.
themselves that gift than men. And like you were talking about going into corporations and sometimes it's all men and they might not have heard of some of this stuff before and that's why, a lot of
Yeah.
women will reach out and seek out these different methods and more holistic or alternative methods and men typically don't for some reason. But yeah,
By the time I've had men get to me, it's because they have gone so far beyond burnout that they can't
yeah,
even find their way. And I do have a handful of men that I work with, and a lot of them are
yeah,
coming with high anxiety
sure.
and this feeling like they have to take like this responsibility, this pressure of responsibility.
Yeah.
So, women have that too, but so in my experience, the handful of men that I do work with, that's what they're showing up with.
Yeah, and I wonder too with the women, especially like these high achieving business women, if they feel like I have followed my passion, this is what I wanted to do so bad, and it was my calling, and I knew this is where I was supposed to be in life, why am I feeling so burnt out? Why can't I get to
Mhm.
whatever place I want to be? So I can completely see that sort of confusion of
Yeah.
this is my passion. This is what I feel called to do. But on the other hand, I'm having these symptoms, whether it be
Mhm.
physical, emotional, spiritual.
Yeah.
How do I balance that out? Yeah,
Right.
I can
Right.
totally see that.
And that's a lot of what I am teaching is balance, right? It's
Yeah.
understanding that duality. It's understanding the equality of giving and receiving and pause and action. And, the reality is the women that I have worked with that their lives have dramatically changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
because they started embracing the opposite of what they were doing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all like just super
Hmm.
focused on this one
Hmm.
aspect and
Yeah.
and social media, oh my gosh, social media will do that to you.
Yeah.
Everything you see, especially if you have like any kind of a business account, all of a sudden you've got all these things telling you how you need to run it and how you can do better and do better and do more and you need this and you need that and yeah, it really
Yep.
comes at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, so learning to get quiet
Mm-hmm.
is uncomfortable for this particular community that
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking to. So I have this one client and she goes through phases where she's like, "Okay, I'm doing really great with meditation. I feel great, everything's great." And then it falls off. And then she
Right.
starts to feel like overwhelmed again. And I'm like, "Well, where's your meditation game right now?" Well, and
Yeah.
then we'll reset and she'll get back into doing it. And then she's like, "Oh, I feel great. Everything's easy." Like there's this clarity. I'm able to have new
Right.
ideas. And it's like, yeah, it's a practice. So in yoga, we
Sure.
call yoga a practice.
Hmm.
And so everything that I'm teaching is with the understanding that you're not going to go through my 4-month program and then be like, "Okay, I'm
I'm
transformed.
good.
Everything's done."
All
It
good.
the
Yeah.
transformation comes through the consistent application of the
Right.
work.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because that's so important. Yeah. The work isn't done
Hmm.
after a retreat or after,
Hmm.
a few sessions or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
So,
just waking up what needs to be given attention, and then you get to
yeah.
decide, am I going to continue with the old paradigm of belief that's not working, or am I
Hmm.
going to do the things that I need to do to make the change,
Yeah.
to bring this other way in? And so, again, I'm often speaking to people that have never experienced what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. And that's why I do this is for people who maybe never heard of some of these things or didn't know
Mhm.
what a coach was about or didn't know what, whether it's Reiki or chakra balancing or any of it or meditation. There's so many different modalities that different people I've talked to are just I'm so loving these conversations. It's so
Yeah.
great. And hopefully people are learning from them. I know I'm learning, so
Mm.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I love
So,
it.
yeah, me too. Thank you. So, where is the best place for people to reach you? Would it be through your website or through one of your social media accounts
Yeah,
or?
so if you go to my website, I offer a free exploratory call so we can
Nice.
talk and see where you are, what's going on, make sure that I'm the right fit for you. Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. I'm really intentional. I'm not going to just be like, yeah, let's do this. If I'm
Yeah.
talking with somebody and I'm hearing things that are telling me they're not ready to do the work,
Right.
then it is not an alignment for me
Hmm.
to say, okay, yeah, let's do this. I think that anytime you come to spiritual coaching of any kind or any kind of mindfulness coaching or self-exploration coaching, you better be ready
Yeah.
because when the doors get blown off, they get blown off, and it's not comfortable.
Right.
But I create such a safe container
Oh,
for
nice.
my clients to do the work that they need to do, and they have the ability to, whether, if they're working with me within a group, then they have the ability to communicate within that group and get feedback. If they're working with me one-on-one, then they have ability to reach out to me. I just had a client reach out to me a couple days ago. She was like, so this thing happened at work and I can't get out of my, like, she's in the
Yeah.
swirl.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, you're acknowledging it. This is step one. That is
Yeah.
like, if you don't
Just having
have
that
that
awareness.
awareness, right? So that's
Right.
great. Now go home and write the story out and get real with yourself
Mm.
about what's real and what's an emotional response.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
So that that in between time between the sessions, it's not like, okay, go.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, especially with these high achieving women, they have to really work into allowing that space for
Hmm.
somebody else to hold space for them. They think they have to do it all.
Right. They're so used to being this,
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yes.
leader. Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes a little bit of time for us to get
To
that
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 point.
understanding that, like, hey, I'm here. You have to just lean in. I'm not going to chase you or ask you, but if you need
Right.
help or aren't sure what to do, I'm here to help you.
Nice.
That is one of the things that I feel like I do really well is create safe containers because I feel
Hmm.
like that's really important for this kind of work. So in that free exploratory call, we would talk about where you are, what's going on, and then I'll share, my program, the different options. And then I also have a retreat coming in September. So maybe you're not ready to go down the program, but you're like, but I maybe want to jump into that,
Yeah.
that experience out there and do that. So if you go to my site, you can find the free exploratory call button whenever you're going through my page. And then I also have a quiz that
Mm,
is going to help you see where you're stuck, like how stuck
nice.
you are, and it'll give you a little feedback on how you can take that feeling of stuckness and shift it.
Nice. I love those little quizzes, that little self-assessment, just real
Hmm.
quick to kind of see where you're at. So, also another thing I want to talk about, you are an author.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about your book a little bit and where
I
people can find
sure
it?
would. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's on Amazon. It's called Inspirational Journeys Awakening the Soul. It is stories about how travel woke me up.
Oh, nice.
So travel experiences that I had, and some of them are, oh, yay, that was great. And some of them are getting stuck on a highway for 8 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
And how you navigate those things, And so because retreats are such an important part of the work that I do, I
Mm-hmm.
felt like writing this book was a way to talk about why going on a retreat might be a good thing because
Um,
at the end of the day, getting out of your norm and having experience out in the world, first of
mm-hmm.
all, it makes you realize that your world's bigger than you think it is.
Yes.
Also, it helps you to have some perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really lean into places that are in nature
Mm.
because when I can get into those awe-inspiring places, it's like, yeah, my little self is just a little tiny speck of dust on
Right.
this planet.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I've gone to Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, Hawaii, Alaska, like all of these places that just inspired me. And I think the book closes with my trip to Greece, which was 2.5 years ago. And that was just that's a podcast in itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
but I
Yeah.
went on a retreat there. So I went for a few days and did some things on my own, and then went on an actual women's retreat there, and it was life-changing. And
Nice.
that's for me what the whole point is let's find those life-changing opportunities and experiences. How do we bring that into our lives so we can see it more? Yeah, so my book is just a little bit about my stories, about my experiences, and then some reflection on the lesson that was learned. Each
Yeah.
each chapter has the story, and then a backup section
Oh,
in the
nice.
same chapter that kind of talks about
Yeah.
the lesson that was experienced in that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And then people can read that chapter over again or whatever and be like, oh,
Yep.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then it sort of shows other people too how to reflect back on the situations in their life and see what
Yep.
was the lesson. So we'll put that link in the description below as well. And is there anything else that you would like to make sure that people know or anything else you want to share before we go?
Uh, just know that you have all of your answers. So that I think was the biggest thing that I have really had to harness in my work is, for a long time I didn't use the word healer because I
Mhm.
felt like that there was a miscommunication with that word. I
Yeah,
think that's the way I want to explain that. As a healer, I'm holding a sacred container for the person that I'm with to do their own healing.
right,
I'm
right.
shining a light, I'm sharing wisdom, I'm being a collaborative partner in the
Yeah,
discussion. But at the end of the day, I don't have your answers. You have all
right.
of your answers. So if you can begin to get quiet enough to hear them, that's when things can change.
Yeah, love that.
Hmm.
Great message. Great message
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing today. I'm sure that the audience will want to check out your book and check out your website and see you on social media for those that are on there. And this third time I'm saying it, but check the description below because all of her information will be there. So thanks again, Ramona. I was so excited to see you today. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Pamela. It was great to be here.